Hello and welcome to 30 Years of Octocon. I am the moderator for this panel, Gareth Kavanagh, and I first attended an Octocon in 1998. I'm going to get the panelists to introduce themselves and ask them to tell us what year was their first year, because I think I am the person who has the most recent first attendance. I'm going to start with Philippa, if that's okay.
Hi everyone, great to be here. Wow, what an auspicious day, what an auspicious event. 30 years of Octocon. Well, my first Octocon was the first Octocon.
Simple as that. Too.
Yeah, and her.
Yep,
so I've been
here,
involved in science fiction for many, many years.
Helen, I suppose a bit of an introduction, sorry, Philippa, a bit of an introduction about who you are as well.
Okay.
Right. Okay, I joined the Irish Science Fiction Association in 1976 as a pimply teenager of about 15, I think 16 at the time, and quickly became involved in running the ISFA. We ran a couple of conventions called Octocon in 81 and 82, and I've been involved in small press, fanzines, running conventions, everything. Took a few years off for personal issues, which I'm sure everybody at the convention knows about now. Transition from male to female. It's National Coming Out Day. So, oh, you surprised, Michael? Oh, okay, sorry.
First I've heard this.
Okay, now shut her up.
Now I'll shut up.
Yeah, so I've been reading science fiction since I was a teenager, and was supportive of this one when they were involved in the ISFA. And in 1989, I just finished, it was late autumn, I just finished doing a postgraduate qualification, and I had time on my hands, and I ended up joining up with a crowd of other SF fans and chairing the first Octocon and the second as well, and I was on the committee for the third. Oh, and Eurocon.
For your sins.
For my sins.
Mike, how about yourself?
Yeah, my name is Michael Carroll. I joined the ISFA back in 1988, I think 88 or 89, and so I was 22 or thereabouts, and 88 it was. And the first convention I ever attended was the Worldcon in Holland, Confiction, 1990 in The Hague. Shortly after that, then Octocon, of course, and I was on the committee sort of on and off. I know the advisor on the committee more times than I was actually on the committee, but I was on the committee for Octocon 3 in 92, and then in 97 the Eurocon in Dublin, and one or two others since. But I was the chairperson in 2004 because no one else would do it. And that was good. Yeah, so I've been involved with Octocon ever since the beginning, and Leonie and I think, are the only two people who've attended every Octocon. So we're winning.
Totally.
And it's a great competition to be winning.
Yep.
James, how about yourself?
Hi, my name is James Shields. I've been a reader of science fiction and fantasy since I was given The Hobbit when I was fairly small, and read, I think I moved from that to Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, and then Asimov and various other authors, but my introduction to, I suppose, organized science fiction fandom started when my mother handed me an article in the RTE guide about Star Trek, which mentioned there was a science fiction convention in Dun Laoghaire. So I think I was a poor student at the time, so I scraped together my £8 for a day membership and came out on Saturday, and was greeted by a very tired looking Helen who noticed the Star Trek pin on my lapel and said, "Now you know this isn't a Star Trek convention." But anyway, had a great day on the Saturday, and managed to scrape together a few more pounds to come back on Sunday, and I think it was £15 for a weekend membership, but £8 for a day membership. So I think whether they'd let me turn my Saturday membership into a weekend membership determined whether I'd be able to have lunch or not. So they were very kind and converted my Saturday badge into a weekend badge. And so I've been to every Octocon since the second one, but I missed the first one. And I have been on committees a number of times, though possibly not quite as many as a lot of people think. I've been kind of in non-committee helper roles a lot, probably more than I've been actually on the committee. And I chaired it in 2000 because nobody else would. So I am currently sort of helping with website and stuff, but I'll probably be on actual committee again soon. I'm sure somebody will twist my arm but yeah. So Octagon is 30, and I'll mention my reveal now is I one of my recent things is 3D printing, and I've been getting into 3D printing dice. So because this is the 30th year of Octocon, I have I don't know if the camera will focus very well, but I'll post some pictures in the Discord. This is a 30-sided die rather, and on the number 1 side is the Celtic Knotwork logo that I think Diane Duane actually did this for, and I thought it was the original Octocon logo from Octocon 1, which is why I put it on the 1 side, but it turns out that was actually not used until Octocon 2, so it's wrong. So my bad. So I might do another version that has the actual Octocon logo on the 1 side, and on the 30 side is Octo.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Very good.
So
That's
one for everybody in
fantastic.
the audience. Yeah.
I'm under strict instructions to answer these questions, and since I gave myself a short introduction, I will give myself a proper introduction now and then be quiet for a while. I'm Gareth Kavanagh. Like everyone else here, I have been a fan of science fiction for a very, very long time. We won't go into how long because I'm still not willing to accept those things. My first Octocon, as I mentioned, was in 1998. In a hilarious missing of timings, I did not find out about Octocon Eurocon until 1 week after it happened, when I ran into someone at a bus stop who was reading a secondhand book, who I got talking to, who recommended to me the Flying Pig bookshop owned by Porrig and James. And so I went in, and that's how I got involved in fandom. That random encounter with that person at that bus stop in Templeogue.
Wow.
I have been at most Octocon since my first. I think I missed 1 or 2 in Maynooth, even though I lived in Maynooth at the time, because of being a poor student and having to work weekends. It was hilarious in so many wrong ways. And I was chairperson in 2011 and 15. And I want to ask each of you, and we'll start with James. No, we'll start with Mike this time. What is the single thing that you remember most and love most about Octocon?
Well, everybody's going to know what I'm going to say. Is Leonie. I wouldn't have met my wife if it wasn't for Octocon. Or very unlikely to have met her. Yeah, that changed my life forever. But also, I made so many other friends because of the ISFA and Octocon. And as we had a chat, one of the other panels yesterday, where basically, as you grow up, you leave your old tribe behind, and you find new tribes to belong to for different circles. And with science fiction, once I joined the ISFA, I knew I had found my people, or rather, I had found my people, because obviously I'm the best and I'm in charge. But sorry, Gareth, I know you think you're the best and you're in charge, and
Oh
you're
no,
allowed.
I know what you mean. Like, I'm just pretending to be in charge here, so that other people can just bask in the glory that is Mike Carroll.
You could be my second lieutenant in charge of executions and a supply closet. But yeah, I mean, I felt like for the first time, I felt like I really belonged with a group of people, because even if we didn't all get each other's references, we all understood where we were all coming from, and again, lifelong friends. And we have there are weird things that happen in conventions. Like last year at the World Con, which was a fantastic event in Dublin, 5 days, during which Leonie and I went to only the panels on which I was actually participating, because we spent all the rest of our time just chatting away to people. At one stage, we went to the bar. We were looking for someone, had a quick look around, and on the way out, we were nabbed by someone at the door. And I think it was like 3.5 hours later, we actually got out through the door, because everybody kept coming up and we went, oh, just it was fantastic. And it is this sense of belonging and companionship, and I mean, like people will often turn up at things after being absent for years. Last year at WorldCon, Brendan Gillen turned up. We haven't seen him in decades, and brilliant chat with him. It's almost as if he'd just been there the day before. So we have a great sense of family like that, and that's what I think most from Octa-Con.
That's good. Helen, how about yourself?
The family aspect is definitely one of them. I mean, every year you'd be coming back and saying, I haven't seen you for ages, how are you? So that is definitely something. From the early days, the fun, there was the chaos of it. I think something too well run can be very boring. So you have to adapt on the fly. Really? Yeah. No, I mean, it can be. If you think about it. I mean, you want the fun bit to happen. And also the crowd, not realizing there were so many people out there who loved the same things you did, and the bar in the Royal Marine, because that was the I actually walked in, started chatting to a guy. I think it was the first or the second Octocon. I didn't realize it was George R.R. Martin. That was fun. And Michael Scott, I remember the first day he came as well. Philippa, do you want?
Yeah, I just loved. There's a number of things I really liked about Octocon, but one of them was the second Octocon, the one that was referred to earlier on, where all the Star Trek people came thinking it was a Star Trek convention. But just seeing the look on the faces of the brand new fans who were coming in and were seeing the televisions with the latest Star Trek episodes that we had got from Canada, as it turned out, and just the awe and the excitement, and just in being able to introduce new fans to fandom, because I was that little kid back in when I was 15 or 16, going to the first Science Fiction Association meeting in the Sportsman Inn down in Stillorgan in South Dublin. I'm walking into a room with about 40 other people there, and just thinking to myself, oh my God, this is where I should be. And so being able 14, 15 years later to give that experience to others is one of my overriding memories.
That's actually a really good one as well. James, come on.
Yeah, well, I think certainly from the first time I turned up at Octocon, it was certainly the feeling of these are my people, and I think it's always been a great community, and I've always felt welcome, and I think I've certainly felt had difficulty fitting in places, and I've always felt Octocon was my home. But I suppose the other end of it, that getting more involved, and I think in Octocon 2000 when I chaired, just sort of coming to the end of the closing ceremony and feeling, oh my God, we did it. And it's sort of a real feeling, good feeling to have brought it home. And it's, you know, I suppose, I think I can see the others not nodded at that, but you know, it's kind of, I suppose there can be a bit of a, I never want to do that again as well, but
until about a week later, James, and then you go, we really should do the next one.
You say a week. I remember after my first running of a convention, being on a committee, saying to the chairperson at the time, I'm never doing this again. And by the time I got home that evening, I'd sent them a text message going, so when's the next organizational meeting?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, myself and Leonie still find ourselves occasionally, you'd be driving somewhere, going by a place, going, you know, that would be a good place for a convention.
yeah.
And you,
Oh,
no, we're not doing this again.
I mean,
no.
I mean, I remember coming back and we stopped at the Barack Obama Plaza and we went and looked at the museum because, you know, why wouldn't you? But they have this little, they have a couple of small meeting rooms. And I'm like, oh man, you could run a really good workshop in here and then there'd be all the food downstairs. Oh, it'd be brilliant. But yeah, that's one of those things that I don't think ever goes away. Once you've gotten into the mindset of event running, you're always looking at spaces going, how could I use this space?
Yeah.
I agree with everything everyone has said, but there's one other thing I want to add, and that's the artwork. I think there's been so many amazing pieces of art over the years for Octocon, from the Celtic knot up to the spiral that was introduced around 2010. That, Jane, can you just show your T-shirt a little bit?
Oh, this
that eventually, you know, is the current T-shirt. That's the current T-shirt, isn't it?
This was the, I think this was the
oh, that's the June one. That's the brilliant June. I loved that June one. Like like all of these things are just, here's art that's over time has built upon itself. And like, you'd never have gotten away with that back in 2010, but after we've been using the logo, and I just love the fandom and community that we've all gotten together on this.
Well, I just want to show you from the first one. The first logo actually had a little white cat with a wizard's hat, and that was based on our cat Gandalf. And this is from the committee page. And you can see all the cats there. That's the committee page from the first one. So yeah, and actually, Michael, you were mentioned on that. The reason that you were put on the committee is yourself and Philippa were supposed to be ISFA liaisons. We had the Octa-Con committee, and then you
I actually edited that program book, so
yeah, because we had the Octagon program on one side and we had FTL, the ISFA magazine, on the other.
Yep, the
so
same money.
So was it
an ace double, as they used to call it.
Yeah, it was tough work doing that, and we had people complaining because they joined up for Octocon and they were members of the ISFA and they were expecting 2 copies. You will get 2 copies. You just don't have enough now, but you will get them. So yeah, that was good fun. That was a tough one.
So
I think I remember, Michael, going down to your office in Ranelagh, and we were doing all sorts of logos on the computer there, just to try and get things going. And I mean, it was all photocopy stuff. The printing wasn't available, and I mean, the first membership database we had was DBase, if anybody can remember that old program, and you know, having the dot matrix printing out labels and things like that. So it was it was primitive, not quite mimeograph stuff. But
we did, everything was stuck down with Pritt stick and sellotape and things like that. And it was weird. And cut and paste was literally cut and paste. Yeah, but you know, that's how we learned. So
it worked.
Yeah,
I think also the nature of the convention changed. I was looking through the program book earlier on. We had a video room because, if you remember, we didn't really have much in the way of videos. Videos were fairly new back in the 1990s.
Yeah.
And we actually had film projectors. We had to go along to a film archive and choose films and rent them for the weekend.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff. We also had an art show. McCanny ran the first art show. And in fact, Steve Dillon, Garth Ennis, John McRae, and Will Simpson were all fan guests of honour, artist guest of honour at the first Octa-Con. And I remember we did a little radio play as well for the first couple of conventions. We were trying to pull in all sorts of aspects about science fiction. There wasn't just panels. We were trying to do quite a lot for a small convention.
We did. We succeeded though, because everything, everything carried on. But a lot of things carried on for many years. One of the things that I'd forgotten about until recently, and this had jumped into my head for no reason. I was thinking about Dave Lally, because you know the way you do. You think, oh yeah, Dave Lally. I hope he's watching this. But I was thinking, the early days of the video rooms, people used to come along to the convention, and the videos would run all night, and they would sleep in the video room because they couldn't afford a hotel room, because we were all poor back in those days. I mean, I'm sure some of them, the Royal Marine, is even now reaching for their lawyers, going, that's not acceptable. But that's what was done. And I mean, I can remember things like on the morning of the convention, where I think it was in 1991 or 92 when I first had my car, and I was driving around picking up people left, right, and centre, because it was so early on the Sunday morning in particular that the buses weren't running. So I was picking people up to drive them out to the con and then going off for someone else. But we always did that.
Oh, indeed. Indeed, you mentioned about Dave Lally, and I think it was I don't think it was 1990. I think, was it the first one or 1991 that Dave Lally and Jim Steele stayed overnight in our house here in Tableau. And but they had driven from London, I suppose, up to Holyhead, got the ferry across, arrived at our house at 7 o'clock in the morning or whatever. And what did they do then?
Well, I don't know, but I certainly remember on the way up, Jim was a paramedic, and there was an accident on the road, and we had to deal with the accident on the road before they carried on to go to Dublin. But I remember we had cushions on the floor for people. People were sleeping. We had friends from America, friends from Germany, friends from Canada who used to crash at our house. And we're not near to Dun Laoghaire. We had to make our way to Dun Laoghaire every morning. We didn't stay over on the first convention. We stayed home. It was not easy.
I think that was the one thing I did learn when I was running the convention, is if you can, stay as close to the convention as possible, because then you get to enjoy stuff. Because you still have to get up at 7 a.m. or if you're far away, 6 a.m. to be there for the start and the setup. So you either have to leave early and miss all the night stuff, or arrive late and things have fallen apart. What I want to ask next, though, is a lot of things that are happening in conventions now almost seem to be reworkings of old things. So I'm wondering, is there an old thing that's gone away that you would love to be brought back in some new way? And I'm going to avoid Mike because he wants to talk. So I'm going to go to James.
But this is Octocon in particular. So I mean, lots of conventions do it. I'd love Octocon to do art shows again. And I think we've been seeing various virtual conventions doing attempts at art shows. I haven't seen one yet that has really felt satisfactory. So I don't have a solution there, but I think it would be great if we. It'd be great if Octagon could have art shows again. It'd be great if we could have actual conventions that we can go to again as well. But
this is an actual convention.
Sorry,
yes, physical convention.
Yes,
physical convention, because this is an actual real convention that has been an amazing amount of work from all of the people behind the scenes. I think we as a group know how much work has been involved in that.
Yeah,
Mike, you were jumping forward.
Yeah, I'd love to. I'd like to go back to the more sort of interactive things that we used to have, like the quizzes and the auction in particular. And auction seemed to disappear about 10 years ago. And they were a pain in some ways for trying to get stuff to auction off. But during the actual auction itself was great. And you could raise a lot of money for the usually the chosen charity of the event. And I thought that was great because it just gave a little extra kind of spark. I know it is hard to organize. It can be terrible if you're trying to auction something and people don't want to buy it. I remember at a VisiCon, not a day VisiCon, there was a young woman who came along and she had donated her husband's collection of 2000 AD comics, and it wasn't a full set, but it was quite a few. It was a couple of boxes worth. And she said, "I'd like to give these to the convention to auction off."
Was it, Michael?
Pardon?
It wasn't Leone.
No. What had happened was her husband had recently died, very sadly, quite young, and I mean they were younger than we were. So, but he had died, and she decided it would be nice to donate these to the con. But of course, she came along at the last minute and said, "Oh, I'd like to give these," and we're going, "Oh, great!" And I was running the auction, and VisiCon wasn't a comic convention. There was no one there who. No one was bidding basically, so no one bought them in the end, and it was like really awkward. But aside from things like that, we did have the facility to raise sometimes substantial amounts of money for the Octa-Con in 2004. Tanith Lee donated one of her manuscripts, and we had people from all over the world bidding for that. And I mean, in the end, it went for really seriously big money. It was an original typed and annotated manuscript. And Leone was one of the bidders, and she lost it in the end. She was furious. And then a few days after the convention, the box arrived in the post from Tanith, and she'd sent Leone a different manuscript. Just there you go.
Oh,
as a present. Yeah.
Wow.
So
one of the things I know I'm answering your question directly here, and it's one of the things that is an issue with auctions is, like you said, it's that there are occasions you'll have amazing things and no one in the audience has any idea the value.
Yeah, it's if you know in advance, it's a bit easier. But yeah. Oh man, we should do that again. Not we. Yeah, we should do that again.
Totally, Mike. Yeah, we will definitely do that again. Philippa.
I have a couple of things that I would love, and it's been mentioned already. The video room. I just find the sense of the experience of watching something with a group is something that you simply cannot get on Netflix on your own. It's being with a crowd watching it. I mean, we know it from going to the cinema, and that is really, really something. The other thing that I'm going to do two things, because the other thing that I would like is, and I know so many fanzines have gone online now, and I mentioned this at Worldcon last year as well, but walking into the fan room and seeing the fanzines there available for either exchanging your own fanzine or donating towards the cost of printing or whatever. I missed that experience of walking home, flicking through the 10 or 20 or whatever fanzines that I picked up. So they're my two things.
Yeah.
Well, just coming to the video experience, that is something that I'd love to see back again. I'm actually thinking more personally insofar as this room here. When Star Trek Next Generation came out, it was always, Ireland and the UK were always about 6 months behind what was shown in the US. But we had a friend in England who got a load of the episodes sent to him. He converted them to PAL, and he sent us copies over. And every so often when we get a batch in, there will be about 15 Star Trek fans, SF fans in this lounge. And we start at something like 10 o'clock in the morning and be watching all the way through the day. It gets very stifling at times. Everybody brought munchies. We always brought the pizzas in and things like that. So that kind of community is great. But the other thing that we don't have, and I love from conventions, is the masquerade. And I used to run this Octocon masquerade, and I competed in one convention in the UK and was very pleased to win the prize there. But I know there's a craft chat thing on Octocon at the moment, which I find fascinating. I've seen people put up their crafts and that. And at Worldcon last year, there were some craft workshops, basically, next to the art show. And I found that great because I went in for a couple of that. So something on the creative side, like the masquerade or hall costumes. I mean, hall costumes are great. And I just love that kind of thing. So, yeah, that's what I'd like to do.
So we have James is running the art show next year. Mike is going to organise the auction. Philippa, you're doing the fan lounge, and Helen, you're going to take care of the craft room. Fantastic. That is,
Yay.
I'm sure the committee for next year is delighted to hear that some volunteers are already on board.
As long as you come back for it, yes.
I will definitely attend. I'll definitely attend. And I mean, I can be the US agent. A question from the Twitch stream. Carroll Colony has some very simple question about what sage advice do you have? And of course, the most important sage advice that you cannot give is run away.
Oh, damn, that's what I was going to say.
So, Helen, no, Philippa, you start this time.
Get people on the committee who will actually do the work. A chairperson can organise their own. No, we did have one experience where someone was supposed to be helping out and getting sponsorships and so forth, and after about 3 meetings disappeared and we never saw that person again. Or I remember one time trying to work out, I think it was programming, and someone got in the muddle, didn't ask for help, so you had to all pitch in, which is fine. You can pitch in, but if you're going to volunteer to work on a con committee, be prepared to do the work you're asked to do. Oh, that's very sobering, isn't it?
No, it's fair.
And it's very true. I mean, it's a very, very hard working thing. And I like that. One of the things I've always asked for people is don't fail quietly. Call for help, because the earlier you call for help, the easier it is for us to come in and help you. It's not embarrassing. This is people's real life gets in the way sometimes.
Yep.
I think we all need to remember that this is volunteer work. We sadly don't get paid for this.
Well, yeah, there's a rule that if the committee is enjoying the convention, then something's gone horribly wrong. My advice would always be that you want to staff your committee with people who will tell you that they won't be able to do something, not that they weren't able to do something. There's a couple of events I've been in, not directly connected with Octa-Con. I have had cases where people come back when you expect them to deliver whatever it is, and they're going, oh yeah, no, I wasn't able to do that, and here's the long and very, very boring story as to why. And then really what you want to do is go, no, that's no good to us. Get the work done, or tell us you're not going to be able to, and then we will sort it out. But I don't know, the advice is that if you have committee members who volunteered, you need to check with them constantly. Do they still want to do it? Because people will have reasons to back out, maybe because the work wasn't what they expected, or because something else in the real world has kind of tripped them up. But you don't want someone there hating the fact that there's a committee meeting coming up. You want them to be looking forward to it.
I think my advice would be just to have fun. People go on and they feel the pressure and so on. Take a step back, realize that it's a volunteer role. Nobody's getting paid. We're even paying our memberships, as Helen said on the GOH interview earlier on. So just have fun, enjoy it, because it is a great experience to be part of running an event like Octagon.
My advice is, if you're chairing, make sure you have somebody in the treasurer role who knows what they're doing. And I think a really good combination is to have a really optimistic chair and a really pessimistic treasurer.
That's good. Yes.
Nice one.
I've said it many times, and it's the chair's job is to come up with crazy ideas, and the treasurer's job is to say no.
So the treasurer's job is to say, how can we do this that doesn't cost any money?
Yeah, no.
Because
first they go no, and then they get talked down.
Yeah.
You get your optimist, you get your pessimist, you get your realist.
Yes.
Yes.
And
I'm
very
sure.
difficult sometimes.
I'm sure it could work to have a pessimistic chair and an optimistic treasurer, but
It
I
wouldn't be
think
a lot of fun.
you definitely want somebody who's sort of telling you, no, there's no way we can afford that, and so it does kind of make sense for it to be that way around.
One thing that might be useful for the future, of course, is to have to try and avoid the situation where the convention feels to outsiders like a closed door policy, that people who are new can't get involved because they don't know enough people. When we began all this, we all knew each other to start with, but new people came in and they gradually came in, sort of got involved in the running. But there were plenty of people that I remembered speaking to saying that, oh yeah, well, you guys all just do what you want. And we're going, no, it isn't that way. If you want to get involved, you are welcome to. But it can be quite easy for a committee to go, well, we'll just stay on board for next year, and which is fine and which is great. But sometimes new blood is what helps keep the thing alive, because you don't want to get to the stage where, and we did see this a couple of times with Octocon, where the old committee just goes, I'm done.
Yes.
And then someone has to come out of the blue going, oh, how do we start this up again? So the momentum is lost. So I don't know if it's even possible, but maybe towards the end of every con, to have an open door meeting saying, we're talking about next year, just a panel basically. Who wants to come in, pitch an ideas? Would you be interested in happening? What can you do? What will you do? And so on.
I think that's a very good point, and I think there can be a tendency for the committee to feel there's no one else to do it but us, so we have to keep going, and so they end up sort of the first year everyone's really optimistic, this is going to be great. The second year we can do it better this year. The third year, oh my God, do we have to do it again?
Yeah.
And then at the end of the third year, right, that's it, we're all resigning, and there's no one to take over. So I think one of the things I would say, and I have done this a number of times, is it is good to step back from the committee before it feels like a chore. And that because I have been, I think I was helping out with flyers and things for the third Octocon, and I was on the committee for the fourth one and a couple after that, and then I stepped back for a couple of years, so I've sort of stepped in and out of committee probably more times than anyone else, and that it's good to sort of come back to it when there's fresh new people and fresh ideas, and hopefully still have something to bring to the table.
Yeah, that sounds like good advice, James.
It is, and I think. Go on.
No, I was going to say on another aspect of things, you've got the people who are coming in to work conventions, but how many of our conventioneers, how many of our committee members, how many of our attendees have actually gone on to do much bigger things? I mean, Michael, you turned a professional writer. You've got James Bacon, so wonderful with yourself, Gareth, at the convention last year, and how he's gone on to with Hugo's for a journey planner. How many, and Maura McHugh as an author. There's so many of us who stayed in the SF field and have made livelihoods or have gone forward and done bigger things. And I think that's something to be proud of, that Octocon fostered that.
Okay, very good. Yeah, I totally agree. The encouragement that I got in the early days as a writer and editor on FDL and things like that was tremendous, and I don't think I could have kept. I think it would have been interesting in keeping going if I hadn't got that feedback that I needed. I mean, one great example, I've cited this a few times, is John Kenny was editing one of my stories for, I think it was for FTL, I'm not sure. And the feedback that I got from him completely changed the way I was editing my own work. And I went on then to, to obviously write more things than that. But if it hadn't been for him, that couldn't have happened. And his encouragement was, this bit in the story doesn't work, but you can make it work by doing this, and it completely opened my eyes. And he's a brilliant writer anyway. And all the guys from Albedo 1 have done some amazing work. And Albedo 1 is still going. So that's another it's a splinter group almost of the Octocon/ISFA thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so just changing things slightly, because I think we've talked a little bit about changing things on and stuff like that, but what do we miss most from past Octocons? I mean, I was always a big fan of sitting in the lobby of the hotel, in the couches, as people wandered past and just talking, which is sadly something we can't quite replicate this year, but I'm looking forward to getting back to. But I mean, what about yourselves? What do you miss? What do you miss about Octocon's past?
I'm sure we've been down this road a few minutes ago. Did I do that?
No, we did what did we want to bring back? This is stuff that we know can't come back.
Oh, can't come
so
back?
Yeah, it is kind of
hair.
We have kind
I
of gone
my
down
hair.
the way. Yeah. Yes. Hair is definitely a thing to miss.
There's
people. Certain people.
That's true.
I mean, we were so blessed with the early Octagons by having such a conclave of science fiction writers. We thankfully still have Diane and Peter. There was Catherine Kurtz and Scott Macmillan, Jill Alderman, Catherine Brophy, and of course losing Jim White, losing Bob Shaw, losing Annie. Annie McCaffrey was such a stalwart at those conventions, and the fact that one of the Canadian fans used to come every year just to see Annie and meet Annie. We got wonderful rapport from our authors, and I just miss the people.
Yeah.
So,
I
actually remember I had a book which I asked Annie to sign. I think it was Moretta, Dragon Lady of Pern, and she put, "To Helen, madness, simply madness, running Octocon." And I thought, that's it. That's what I like. That's what I like. That they were so appreciative of the fact that we ran a science fiction convention at the time. So it's the people that you can't bring back, but you can bring back good memories.
How about you, James? What's your thoughts on this?
I definitely agree with people. I mean, people I'd highlight would be Dave Stewart and Frank Darcy, and that a lot of great fans that are no longer with us.
Phil.
Yes.
So, Dave Stewart.
Yeah.
Thanks, Gareth.
So,
that's
sorry.
I was
hoping for something a little bit more upbeat to finish, but now I'm going to have to come up with a happy topic a little bit to bring us back. So, Kate has asked a question here many minutes ago when I mentioned how I first got involved, and she was wondering, did anyone recognize themselves? So I'm just going to, if anyone on this Twitch does recognize having given advice to some nearly little 18-year-old back 20 odd plus years ago, just make contact. It'd be nice to have that little bit of a follow-on for the story. Sorry, I'm just finishing out here while I think about some of these things. We have 5 minutes left, I am told.
Each?
And
okay.
No, Mike, we each have 5 minutes. You have 30 seconds. So your happiest memory of, I know we've already done memories of Octa-Con and how things have changed, but just single happiest moments. Just something about a particular Octa-Con that just in that moment you were just happy. I admit for myself, it was usually around 11 o'clock on a Sunday morning. No, sorry, 12 o'clock on a Sunday morning, 1 o'clock, because the morning panel had gone, everything was ongoing. And I had no expectations of doing anything because the closing ceremony didn't need to be prepared for a few hours. I had 2 hours where I could sit there and drink a cup of tea, and chances were I wouldn't get interrupted unless things had gone horribly wrong. But I had no expectation after that. 2 hours of just, that's my happy memories of Octocon, which is probably a bit of a sign I should probably talk to someone about that.
That's me and Leonie at Octocon in
Oh wow!
91.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
And she's
So
even
Leonie has
hiding in
been
the
camera
photo.
shy again. So
Oh.
yeah, it's
Oh,
91.
wow.
I've got lots of badges.
I can understand why you're missing your hair. That was a lovely set of hair.
It was already disappearing there. Look at that.
Oh.
Wow.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that.
Okay, happy memory for me. Just walking in, I tell you exactly when actually. Walking into the Royal Marine, into the foyer of the Royal Marine on that first morning, and the nice fresh smell of the lobby, and thinking, oh my God, in an hour's time, or well, more like 3 hours time, this is going to be chaotic. And looking at the receptionist, the poor innocent receptionist, going, you don't know what's coming.
First Octa-Con, and it was just before the masquerade, and people were gowning up and getting themselves ready, coming down into that same lobby. And remember, we didn't have the whole hotel. The kind of the bar and coffee area and everything were very open. And Carrie was in some kind of Metallica outfit. Phil had been doing a sword fight on the staircase with a demonstration sword fight with his brother. And Ronan Fitzgerald, who was one of the committee members, came as Frankenfurter.
Oh yeah.
In the suspenders and the black and the makeup. Yeah. And you could see these ladies with little blue hairdos walking past going, ah! That was funny. That was fun.
That was brilliant.
James.
I'm just I suppose I've lots, but just a random one that springs to mind was back to 2000 when I chaired. We had a live broadcast radio play, and I can't remember now quite how I got in touch with Roger Gregg and Crazy Dog Audio Theatre, but I sort of got hold of him and said, I have this idea of doing a live radio play at Octocon, and my idea was simply that that the actors would stand in front of the microphones and read the script, but this got slightly lost in translation, and Roger sort of had interpreted as we could get RTE to broadcast it live from the convention. And
got that.
So that was amazing. It was an amazing thing.
Yeah.
Involved various meetings.
I find another memory that I think for me it's very important. I'll just really quick show you this. That's me and Harry. Can you see that there at Octocon in 2006? So that was great. Harry Harrison, who was a guest of honor back in '97 for Eurocon, and a guest at pretty much most of the Octagons following that. And because I was a huge fan of his, and he's the one who got me into the SFA in the first place. So yeah, that's a good memory, that one.
I mean, that's using fandom to meet your heroes is always good. We are out of time.
Oh.
So I want to thank my brilliant panelists. That's Helen and Philippa Ryder, my Carroll, James Shields, who have all been fantastic on this panel. But I also want to take the opportunity from us as former chair people of Octocon to thank this year's crowd for doing an amazing job under very difficult circumstances. And I mean, doing an amazing job anyway. Like even if it was a normal convention, it would be an amazing job. So I just want to thank all of the Octocon committee this year and all of the volunteers who have helped in the Discord and all of the other things. I think this convention has been amazing because of all of the hard work that's done, and that's coming from a bunch of people who've been in the mines in a much easier situation. So thank you very much. And thank you. And I hope you've all enjoyed Octocon. The next panel is the closing ceremony, which I think Mike, Philippa, and Helen have to stick around for. But I
No
hope the
dinner
rest
for
of you will
us.
also stick around. Will also stick around for that panel because it will be very interesting, and I definitely think you should pay attention to it. So I think I am done. I think so. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Well done, Gareth.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Well
yeah.
done, Gareth.